Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about bones of skull, and here at the side you can see the diagrammatic representation of skull showing different bones in different color for the reference. So let's start the topic with introduction. Human skull is a complex bony structure that forms the head. It protects the brain, supports facial structure and provides attachment point for muscles involved in chewing, speech and facial expression. It is divided into two main parts: cranial bone that form the protective cranial cavity surrounding the brain, and facial bone that form the structure of the face and house the opening for the respiratory and digestive tract. Talking about cranial bone, as we already said, that bones of skull are divided into two categories: cranial bone and facial bone. So we will start with the cranial bone. These bones encase the brain and are tightly joined by immovable joints that are called as suture. First we have is frontal bone. As you can see in diagram, the yellow color bone in front is called as frontal bone. It is unpaired bone, that means there will be one frontal bone in every skull. It forms the forehead and the roofs of eye socket. It contains the frontal sinuses and contribute to the upper arch of cranial cavity. Second is parietal bone. As you can see in diagram, the blue color bone is the parietal bone. It is paired bone, that means there will be two parietal bone in every skull. It is located on either side of skull. It forms most of the roof and upper sides of cranial cavity. Next cranial bone we have is temporal bone. As you can see in diagram, the orange color bone is temporal bone. It is paired bone, that means there will be two temporal bone in every skull. It is found beneath the parietal bone on either side of the head, as you can see here in the diagram. It contains the ear canal and structure that are essential for hearing and balance. Each has a process such as mastoid process and styloid process. Next we have is occipital bone. The green color bone at the back side is occipital bone. It is unpaired bone, that means there will be one occipital bone in every skull. It forms the back and base of skull. It contains the foramen magnum through which spinal cord connects to the brain. Next in cranial bone we have is sphenoid bone. As you can see in diagram, the pink color bone is sphenoid bone. It is unpaired bone, that means there will be one sphenoid bone in every skull. It is a butterfly shaped bone at the base of skull. It articulates with other cranial bones and contains the sella turcica that houses the pituitary gland. Next we have is ethmoid bone. As you can see here in the diagram, the red color bone is the ethmoid bone. It is unpaired bone, that means there will be one ethmoid bone in every skull. It is a delicate bone located between the eyes. It contributes to the wall of orbit and nasal cavity. It contains the crista calli and cribriform plate. Now let's talk about the facial bone. In facial bone, they form the basic framework of the face and serve protective and structural functions. They include nasal bone. As you can see in the diagram, the green color bone in the front is the nasal bone. They are paired bone, that means there will be two nasal bone in every skull. They are small rectangular bone that form the bridge of the nose. Then we have is maxilla. The light green color just beneath the nasal bone is the maxilla. It is paired bone, that means there are two maxilla in every skull. They form the upper jaw, part of orbit and anterior portion of a hard palate. Each maxilla contains a maxillary sinus. Next facial bone we have is zygomatic bone. Here you can see the white color bone is the zygomatic bone. It is paired bone, that means there are two zygomatic bone in every skull. It is also known as the cheekbone. It articulates with the temporal bone through the zygomatic arch. Next we have is mandible. The light blue color bone is the mandible. It is unpaired bone, that means there will be one mandible in every skull. The lower jaw bone, the only movable bone of the skull. It supports the lower teeth and play a key role in speech and chewing. Next facial bone we have is lacrimal bone. As you can see here in the diagram, it is paired bone. That means there will be two lacrimal bone in every skull. There are small bones located in the medial wall of each orbit. They contain lacrimal groove, that is for the tear drainage. Next we have is palatine bone, that is also the paired bone. It cannot be viewed from this view, but it can easily viewed from the inferior view of skull. They are paired bone, that means there will be two palatine bone in every skull. They contribute to the posterior part of hard palate and nasal cavity. Next facial bone we have is inferior nasal conchae, that is also the paired bone. That means there are two inferior nasal conchae in every skull. They are thin curved bone projecting from the lateral walls of nasal cavity. Next we have is vomer, that is unpaired bone. They form the inferior part of nasal septum, dividing the nasal cavity. Now let's talk about important sutures of skull. Important sutures of skull are conal suture, that is present between the frontal bone and parietal bone. Next we have is sagittal suture, that is present between the two parietal bone. Next we have is lambdoid suture, that is present between the parietal bone and occipital bone. And next we have is squamous suture, that is present between the parietal and temporal bone. Now let's talk about conclusion of this lecture video. Human skull is marvel of natural architecture. Strong yet lightweight, complex yet symmetrical. Each bone plays a role in protecting the brain, supporting sensory organs, and allowing communication and movements. Understanding the skull structure is fundamental for anatomy, medicine, dentistry, and anthropology. And this was all about the bones of skull. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.